Oh, good.
Oh, and we're letting everybody in. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is, whatever time it is. Welcome, and we're happy to have you joining us. While everybody's joining in, if you could just post in the chat where you're tuning in from today. It's kind of fun to find our geographic distribution. I'm in Bend, Oregon. Oh, Sarah, Colorado Springs. David, you are so fast to the draw every time. Philadelphia. Donnia, of course, Knoxville. Robert, Omaha. I gotta put mine in there. I am in Oregon, Bend, Oregon. Francois from Vancouver. Charmin from Duluth. Keep letting more people in, and then
Hi, Tim. Yeah.
we will turn everybody loose with Donnia. Belfast, there's the farthest so far. Hans, welcome. Chris, welcome from Eagle, Idaho, my neighbor. Next state over. Nova Scotia, Michael. This is great. No really far distribution though. The other day we had Dubai and Istanbul and Lebanon. That was kind of cool.
I usually have somebody from Uruguay in these. He's been everyone so far.
Milwaukee. We got Texas. That might be the farthest. No, I'm kidding. Belfast is still the farthest. All right. Let me finish adding people. We're gonna kick it off here. I don't want to hold Donnia back. We'll get started. Thank you everybody for joining us today. All right. This is today's hints and hacks Revit. It's a life of a shared parameter. Love your titles, Donnia. My name is Sean Hurley. I'll be your host, and let's get it started. If you can go to the next one, please. All right. Community conversations are virtual meetups featuring expert speakers from across community. Sessions range from deep dives, tips and tricks, and live demonstrations of products such as AutoCAD, Revit, of course, Dynamo, Fusion 360 to roundtable and industry insights. They cover everything from emerging trends, career stories, and more. It's just a whole gamut of whatever is value to our community. Anyway, it's all experience levels, so we don't aim at high or low. It's for everyone. All right, next one, please, Donnia. The fun stuff. The safe harbor agreement is, I'll put it really simple. Don't make any decisions based on anything that's not in the shipping product as it is today. You know, we don't want to make any promises or say that we're going to add a unicorn feature in Revit in the next release. We may be doing that, but we can't promise that to you. So don't make any purchasing decisions. Anything that's outside of the existing product. Next. All right, the ground rules. Everybody's line is muted to reduce background noise. We do invite you to keep your camera on to kind of give a feeling of that we're in the same room, as close as we can be for now. And it sure sounds like AAU is going to be in person, so we'll get to be back in a room and maybe do some community conversations and have some fun and maybe a drink or two. But this is kind of a way to get physical when we're all remote right now. Raise your hand using the Zoom function and we'll unmute or ask your question in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that. We will email you a link to the recorded session, and it'll be on the event page, and I'll post that here in just a second as we get started. The conversation should be just that, a conversation. So let's try and have some fun here. We're gonna get some good knowledge nuggets from Donnia, and hopefully, oh yes, everybody wants hugs. All right, next please. My name is Sean Hurley. I'm Autodesk Community Engagement Manager here at Autodesk. I'm a geeky technologist. That's just my little, how do I describe myself? I am a geek. I'm located in Bend, Oregon. And Donnia, tell us about yourself.
Well, I have been using CAD since 1983 or so. AutoCAD was not my first. sorry, it was about my fourth or fifth. I fell into Revit though, and I'm like, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is it. So I really enjoy this. I enjoy my community conversations. I'm also working on the community blog, putting little nuggets out there every now and again, and having fun doing that. And looking forward to AU in person. I've been a speaker there for many years, and I was a mentor this last year to somebody that got a top speaker award. I was so excited about that. So being a mentor is also something I enjoy doing.
You were awesome.
All right, so you gonna let me have it now?
It's all
Anything else you need?
yours. It's all yours.
Yes. All right, so today's session, we're going to talk about the shared parameter. The shared parameter file, shared parameter versus project parameters, how to create shared parameters, rules for shared parameters for project parameters, and a powerful behind the scenes look at a parameter. We're going to follow the life of a parameter, a shared parameter, and what all he can do. And then I had an issue come up 2 weeks ago. I call him a little rascal of a shared parameter that changed groups in a project. And I found out that that's a thing. And I found out how to fix it. So I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to have you have a peek at the project parameters and stuff that we're into. So let's get started. So what is the shared parameter file? It's a file that has parameter definitions that can be used in multiple families, multiple projects. It's got the defined information that you would need for tagging and scheduling, also for filters for schedules or view templates and such. So what properties does it have? There's your list right there. The GUID is the global unique identifier that is created by Revit. And then there is that GUID is don't touch, just that's hands off, just don't touch. Don't make me stop this car, don't touch it. The name of the shared parameter, the data type that it has, the data category that it would be under, whatever group it's in, visibility, description, and user I can't do that word, modifiable. So are you allowed to edit your shared parameter file? Maybe. In my office, no. Our shared parameter file at Trimark, the one that we've got several regions, and I know others have edited theirs, but the southern region is using the shared parameter file that when I got here, it's been changed 3 times. Once because I was working with a large chain customer that needed some very unique scheduling. So you have to, if it's going to be scheduled, it's got to be a shared parameter. Could be a project parameter, but we'll look into that. But we had the shared parameter file edited to give me some flexibility. I got 4 different texts, 4 different yes, no's, 4 different. The next time it got changed was about 1.5 years later when the same chain customer needed more. And so I'm like, just give me 10, just give me 10 of each. And we'll look into these parameters that we added. The last time it got changed was the former BIM manager for Trimark overall had left. They hired somebody else, and he was here for about 1 year. And one of the things he did was mess up the shared parameter file. He took out a parameter for a large chain customer, put in a parameter for another group. So I had to find out how to merge these together back into a shared parameter file. And I did it with a third-party package, I believe. But so it's 3 times it's been edited, and I've been here almost 9 years. And so we just don't let people edit it. That's just the rule, and the southern region goes by that. But when you're going to have people that are going to edit things like I did, you got to give people what they need. So if you can control that shared parameter file, you may want to set some parameters up that can be used for custom parameters. And we call them the XYZ parameters. Let me just pop over to here, and I'm going to pull open my shared parameter file. Manage, share parameters. And this is our shared parameter file, the Trimark shared parameter file. And we've got a category, XYZ. Why do we put it XYZ? Puts it at the bottom of the list. You have to know what you're going for to find it. So my team knows that they can go in there and use these XYZ parameters if they need something, especially since we do a lot of chain restaurants. And we'll get into that. I think 2 months from now, I'm doing a thing on chains. If you work on repeat customers, just we'll come back to that in 2 months for a community conversation. But here we've got area 1 through 10, integer, length, number, text, volume, and yes, no's. And I think I use the yes, no's or the text. I use the text more. I don't know what I use more. But anyway, these are our custom parameters that we have that can be used for whatever they need, and then they can just note it on the project information area what they've used it for, so that somebody come along behind them will know what it's used for. But those are our XYZ parameters. But not all of our custom ones are in the XYZ parameters. Some are in the identity data and the mechanical areas and stuff, because we do MEP. So just to show you that, let me get back over here. And under identity data, we find some TM, Trimark parameters, asset management, and the utilities. But now I want to look at the shared parameter file in another way. Actually, I'm going to open up a copy of our shared parameter file. I've opened it up in Excel. It's a TXT file. I opened it up, tab delimited, and just to see what we've got. So this up here at the top is setting up your groups. And you got a group, an ID, and which is the number, and then the name. I don't know why it's called mini version. I don't ask. It's just, that's the way they do it. Down here is where you see the parameters. Here's what we're talking about: the GUID, the name, the data type, the data category, the group, whether it's visible, and the description. The parameter name, of course, is what param just lets us know that it's a param as opposed to a group in this area. There's your GUID. Don't touch that. Don't make me stop this car. Don't touch that. And then these are the names of the parameters, and these are the data types. So drawn by is a text. Data category, I found, is just for nested families. It's usually just left blank, they say, and I don't have anything in there. The group is referring back to the number of the group here. So text is number 25. It's project information. That one is. The drawn by is project information. So then it's visible, and then any descriptions. I think we've got a couple with descriptions. There are some custom ones that we have. We have a yes, no, 120 dual volt is set to a yes, no. And it says if equipment has 120 dual voltage checked, yes. And then down here, there's another one, the asset management that's there. But we have TM dual volts is a text parameter, because we often have equipment that's got dual voltage, and you can't put in dual voltage in volts. So we would put the higher voltage in there. If it's 12208, we put 208 in the voltage. And then we would check the box that says 12208, check it. And then we could put in TM dual volts, whatever text value we want, which was in quotes 120/208, close quotes. And that lets us have dual voltage show up in our schedule. So we don't schedule volts, we schedule TM dual volts. And that's just one way that we have gotten around some of these things. We have an item CFA that is used for our chains, item custom for anyone, as opposed to the item number. TM job number, anything that TM is ours. So that's our Trimark one. So we have some that they show up under identity data. They might show up under the electrical is where we're going to find my voltage ones, the 120/208 and TM dual volts. So we try to make it so that we can identify any of our custom ones. Now our shared parameter file was actually started from the food service consulting, food consulting service industry, FCSI. That way we can deal with other people that are developing food service equipment, ranges and stuff like that, the manufacturers. They all use that same shared parameter file, so that when we get in there, our our electrical connection rough in height, our electrical con connection height, con plug, all these have the same GUID. So if you're in an industry that may have to be sharing information, you may want to check and see if your industry has one. I found one for BIM MEP AUS, so I believe that's Australia's. But you may want to check and see, there is a national BIM library. I'll put a link in the chat about that. I've got the link in the bottom of my PowerPoint. I'll put it in our chat for this session so that you can look up that one. If you haven't started one, you may want to start with one that has some things in it. I wouldn't want to build it from scratch, not with everything I mean, it's just in our electrical. There's a ton of these things, but yeah, I wouldn't want to start from scratch. I was lucky when I got here, we had one. So that is a little bit of overview about the shared parameter file and how they are set up. Let's talk about the difference between a shared parameter versus a project parameter. Because some people have taken some of our parameters and put it, one group in our company has taken it and put some of our shared parameters in project parameters. But they're like, why do I have to have the shared parameter anyway? I'm like, tags, schedule, consistency between families, schedules. Well, the biggest difference is the shared parameter is an external file where the project parameters can be set up in a template. They're per project, but yeah, if you're going to have it consistently, set it up in a template. Added categories at level or family level, or categories added at category level or family level, where the project parameters are added at category level, but can be put to multiple categories. So you can have a project parameter that goes to generic models, specialty equipment, lighting fixtures, anything that you want to have to go to, push it across all of them. Where within a family, there's only one category for it. And that's what I mean by family level there. Used as visibility graphics filter, both of them can do that. So you can use them in your view templates. They both can be scheduled. There's your term right there. Tagged or not tagged. If it's something that has to be tagged, definitely going to have to be a shared parameter. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about where you're going to develop these. Defined by name, group, data type, as opposed to name, group, data type, and categories. When you set it up in a family, you can set it up to be instant or type, and that can change. Instant type options are set when they're created on the project. So it's going to be whatever you set up, that's going to be it. Now, a shared parameter can be added as a project parameter. And let's go look at a little bit of this. I want to look at, in my shared parameter dialog, I can take hold of this shared parameter and I can look at its properties. I can create new ones and stuff. We're going to get into that a little bit more, but this is where the shared parameters, if you say something about new, you're going to have properties, and this is where you're going to set up the discipline names and stuff. And you can set up under the different groups. And project parameters, let me just grab one and look at the modify, which shows you what you can do. Here's where I can set it to instant type. And once it's set, it's set. And then you can assign it to the different groups. So a shared parameter created in a family is going to be to that family's group, of course. So there's what I mean by in the difference in where those things are set up. So in creating a shared parameter, locate your company's shared parameter. There should be one. Don't want to find Brian's shared parameters and David's shared parameters and such. We want to have one. And you can go to it by getting to the Manage tab and locate it. And then you got to also make sure that everybody can get to that same file. So it's got to be in a centrally located file. You want to look at what groups you want to have. You have to have at least one group to get started. They're basically just, like I said, the headers, category type things, that is what I would call them. But then you can create a new parameter and be giving it a name and selecting its discipline, and then the type of parameter. And then Yeah, you can write name, discipline, type, and you can also do a tooltip if you want. Now, it may seem ironic, but I had a problem come up this week where somebody had the name of the parameter was in there, but it wasn't scheduling. And she gets in there, she shares her screen, and the parameter was under the same group, had the same name, but it wouldn't schedule. So why is it not scheduling? I said, do me a favor, just open the family, rip it out, put it back in from our shared parameter file, and give it the value and load it back in. It's scheduled. So just because something looks like yours may not be yours. We had to, like I said, just rip it out and take it out for what we wanted to do, because somebody else had, wherever that family had come in, and yes, we adopt them from everywhere. Wherever that family had come in, I may look at a family when I'm checking it out and just see what it looks like and make sure that parameters are in there. I don't question if it says phase that it wasn't the same phase that ours was. So I'm not going to rip things out and put them back just to be sure. I assume it is ours until something like that comes up, and then we fix it and put it back in the library. So it's that GUID that came in there that said, I'm not like the rest. I'm not like yours. So we had to rip it out and put it back. So let's talk about those rules for shared parameters. When you're in shared parameters, groups can be renamed or deleted. And let's just pop back over here to my shared parameters. So when you, I'm going to do something. I'm going to say create. And I'm going to give it, you see I was playing with one. And you're going to have to save one. So here's a blank slate. And first thing you got to do is have a group. Oh, group one. Now I can go in here and I can rename it, or I can delete it. Just create it. Now I can do a parameter in here. You can then pick its discipline. This is what I mean by the disciplines. And you can see there's a lot of things in here. You do have to have everything turned on if you want to be able to do electrical, etc. And what I've got turned on is, let me just pop out here real quick. And I'm going to see that as a link. When you have the options of going in and looking at your user interface, I have some of my team just turn these things off. If they're not going to be developing families or anything, then they don't need to see this, and it gets rid of some of the tabs up here. But if you're going to be developing some of those things, you're going to need them on. So that's where some of these other categories and stuff can go. So when I'm picking here, I can pick into the electrical, the structural, the piping, infrastructure, etc. And those are available to me. So parameters cannot be renamed. When I pick on a parameter, you see I can move it, I can delete it, I can look at its properties. That's my options. The group can be renamed or deleted. I can move this to a different group. I don't have a different group to put it in, but I can move it to a different group. It's got in the wrong group. Maybe you put it under electrical something and you want to move it to plumbing. You can do that, but that's about it as far as what you can do with some of the things. They cannot be renamed. Cannot be renamed, but moved and deleted.
Hey, Donnia. Excuse me. Donnia?
Yeah.
Catherine had a comment in there. She says, working for a manufacturer, how do we decide what shared parameters to create for the families we publish when the end user's company will have different shared parameters they use for scheduling anyway?
That's a good question. I would go with, if there's an industry standard, I would go with industry standard, definitely, which most of the manufacturers for food service equipment will. But if you can find out if there is an industry standard, then they're not going to have to remap parameters when they get it. And I've seen it. Like I said, that phase should have been the same because every other parameters in that one worked. So I know that they have been developing from that. So if you can find out if there is an industry standard I would do that. The one thing you don't want to do is if your company is Acme, you don't want to have Acme underscore height, Acme underscore width. Oh, please don't. If it can be a family parameter, leave it as a family parameter. If it has to be scheduled, please don't make it with, if you got industry standard, do that. But if you have to make it, please don't preface all of them with Acme underscore parameter.
Can I do them with my name though?
Kidding. Don't make me stop this car. Yeah, it's best to find out if there's industry standards. If not, try to keep it as minimum as possible of the ones that have to be from the shared parameter. And if they can be a family parameter, family parameters, width, height, depth, those are all family parameters. If it doesn't have to be tagged or scheduled, keep it as a family parameter as opposed to a shared parameter. That's the best I can give you right there. Yeah. But yeah, I was lucky we had an industry standard that was going on here.
We got one more, and then I'll let you move the car along.
Okay.
Brian says, if not tagging, do the users need access to the shared parameter file after family creation? I've used a custom parameter file to populate a schedule-driven cert block, and I was surprised it worked fine, even though I was the only one with access to the shared parameter.
I have my team keep up with the shared parameter. They don't, some of them don't even have the shared parameter listed in their projects because our schedules and everything are already set. If they're not having to do anything about changing or editing schedules or tags or anything, then it's not necessary to have a shared parameter file linked to your project. So yeah, someone I'll go, where's your shared parameter file? I don't know. Okay, let's go look. If you're, because I'll tell them you're missing that TM utility, where my little workhorse parameter. If you're missing that, it ain't going to happen for you. So if they get families from somewhere else, they have to know how to put these parameters in.
You hit a hot topic. I mean, apparently shared parameters is one, you know. Michael Frampton says, from a consultant's perspective, we trademark ours so we know what ones to review when things go south.
Yeah. Well, we trademark ours with TM, you know.
David from Philadelphia, once a shared parameter is added, it no longer has any connection to the shared parameter file. The GUID is what ties it all together.
Yes. Yep. That's a very good point. Very, very nice way of putting that. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at some good reasons to use shared parameters as project parameters. Our title blocks are a good example where shared parameters works well as a project parameter, because we have the luxury of being where we maybe have one person work on one project because we're the kitchens. We're the last one invited to the party. We're the tip of the tail getting wagged by the dog. But we generally can have one person. So therefore we don't have to have different initials as to who drew it. As opposed to where I worked in the architectural firm where everybody had a sheet that they had to deal with. So we can put that as a project parameter instead of having it per sheet. So our sheets don't have the sheet parameters for drawn by, approved by, things like that, because we put it in project parameters. We also have it in there, and that came from our shared parameter file because we wanted to add it so that we could put it in. And the reason it has to be a shared parameter for a title block is because I have to be able to add it to the title block, and then I can add it to the project parameters. That way it has the same GUID code in there. So that's one reason that it would work well, is to have a shared parameter as a project parameter. I want to go backwards into that. And so the project information is all on the title block. And that way, when you just fill out the title block, because let me just show you our landing page is a title block. Our open and close view is a title block. So when you come in here, you're gonna love this place. You can pick any one of these to go in and edit. And that fills in the title block and stuff. This is an older project that I inherited that we use for training. when I open up a new project with my templates and come to the landing page, I'm going to see a little bit more designer Pippi Longstocking. Have fun with it. Yeah. So this one's got a few little bit different information. So the drawn by and stuff is here. And you'll see when I go to a sheet, we've put not used on all of our sheets because we don't use them. And that way we don't leave them there that somebody may come in and go, what's this for? Well, it's not used, so don't worry about it. But that way we can put it all in here in our project, and that's in our project information. But to add it to the title block and to add it to the project, it had to become a shared parameter. So that's a really good excuse for doing a shared parameter file with that. So while looking at the sheets, project parameters, there's one that looks like it came from the shared parameter file, but it didn't. So let me go back over there. I wanted to show this one out too, since we were talking about these. And that is this TM sheet order. That is strictly a project parameter. And that all that does is put our sheets in these orders. So we're filtering by order here for our sheets. So we put project parameters also if they're going to be a custom. We put our TM in front of it a lot of times. Like I said, those are set in the templates, and we don't have to look for it anymore. It's just done. All right. The life of a shared parameter. Behind the scenes look at him. This is my workhorse parameter. This is the one, if they don't add anything else to a family, they have to add this. This parameter is added to every family that's in our library. And it's a quick way for me to check and see if someone in our company has touched that family, because if it's got the TM utilities, we're good. It does not show up in tags or schedules, well, at least not the print ones, because we turn it off. We hide it. So let's make the TM utility parameter. He is a little workhorse for us, and let's just go take a look at some of the things he does. Let me go back over to, not you. I want to go to here, and in here, I pick any family. And when I look at his type, I'm going to find TM utilities. He should be under identity data. There he is. TM utilities is set to 1. Okay, good for him. Now let's check another one. No, I don't want the hood. Give me this guy. He's natural gas. TM utilities set to 1. Yes. Our TM utilities has got basically 4 settings. And this one should have a TM utilities of 2. 2. Okay. What it is the TM utilities set to 0, no utilities. TM utilities set to 1, plumbing, which includes gas. TM utilities set to 2, electric. TM utilities set to 3, ventilation for our hoods and stuff. So if it's got, if it's a combi oven that has to have water and electric, that's a 12 or a 21, whichever way you want to go with it. So he goes into every family with these numbers, and everyone knows what these numbers are. Anybody on my team knows 0, 1, 2, 3 and what you got to have. And you can also then put in, if it's multiple utilities, and you put in the dual numbers. So he goes in here for that. But now this is in my print schedule. Let me show you what happens when I go to a working schedule. I mean, a working template, print template, working view template. So we have our prints up here. We have our working down here. And this is an overall. And there he goes. He's working now. So the little guy is working, and he's got all of our things without utilities turned cyan color. Plumbing is all pink. If it's brown, then it means it's got dual parameters. And so this one probably has electric and plumbing. If it is green only, then that's electrical. So here I've got electrical, I've got dual plumbing, and I've got no utilities right there in that thing. This is just, you know, the two. So he works in this manner to let us know what needs what. Also, if I go to my electrical view and I've got the working view template on, guess what? It makes it real easy for someone to go in here and say, well, here's something with electrical. I got to go put electrical over here. So they can drop in their electrical symbols. And then when we get done, all you got to do is take it back to print. But here's where it goes into it. Under our filters, the electrical rough in, turn it green and put it bold. Where if I was back on the coordination view and looking at our filters, it's going to have all of them. And it's got the cyan, the brown. So you can see with combined utilities, turn it brown, electrical rough in is green, plumbing is pink, ventilation is blue, no utilities is cyan. And that's how he helps us work to keep give them a visual so that they don't miss putting in the MEPs. And then when it comes to schedules, this little rascal does some more work. So he goes into the families and sets up so they know their identity for their utilities. And then he goes into the view templates and they're into the filters, and so that everybody can see. And if something comes in black, he doesn't have the TM utilities on. That's for sure. When I go to the schedules now, in our working schedules, let me just get the equipment utility schedule. This is the big one that has all the utilities in it. This is where we can check ourselves. Didn't I tell you when it's got pink, it turns pink in the, when it's got, let me illustrate. When it's got plumbing, it's got the number 1 in it. It turns pink in the drawings. It also turns pink in here if there's a 0. Missing information. And a lot of this could be that these parameters should have been taken out of that family, but they still show up here. So they shouldn't, but they still do. And that happens a lot with families are built. They go in and get one with hot and cold water and indirect and direct waste, and they just leave them in there whether they need them or not. And green, you may be missing some information for electrical. Blue, you're missing some information for, oh, we're gonna do schedules next month. Let's just quit this. Here's where we see our TM utilities. And here's where we can see what they're set to. And we can see the family name and such. So in our working template, it does one thing, but when we go to our equipment and utility schedule over here, no color, no zeros, come back next month. I'll tell you how I did that. So our little guy, he comes in, he goes with the family, he goes into the view templates and the filters and stuff there. He's in our schedules and the filters there, and he is the utility that the TM utility, and he is the most utilized little parameter. I love him. So that's how I can know if somebody has gotten a family and brought in. But see, our working templates also, or working schedule also have where you can run down through the list. You can see if he has TM utilities or not. So you know that that's there. All right, so that's our little workhorse. And now let's talk about the rascal that changed groups in the middle of a project. How in the world? I take this project and I'm supposed to be making a template out of it for a chain restaurant, and I'm pulling families out, and I go to check on parameters, and I'm like, why is this one always under other? TM or our item CFA should be identity. It's under other. And I get hold of the designer. I'm like, why did you change all these? I'm just getting started. And they're like 4 families. They're all changed. She says, I didn't. It's making me nuts. I go to look for him and he's under other. And I'm like, what do you mean? I told it to be under identity data, but any family I open from that project that comes in. So I fix it. I put it back. And then I go into the project and I look at it. It's back under other. This isn't right. I'm a control freak and he's not letting me control. So it's like, we got to find this out. So that was this, yeah, so this one project that all showed up under other, and what, yeah, editing and reloading did not help. Oh, it was just doing nothing but aggravating me. I stopped the car. The first time a shared parameter goes into a project, its category gets set. I found out. So someone, whoever started this project, the first family that they had, item CFA had been put under other. And if you go to just add it without paying attention, setting its category, it does default to other. It's text or something, it goes under other. So the first family that went in, it was put under, so the project goes, okay, item CFA, all of you go over here under other. So to get around that, I set the shared parameter as a project parameter. So I go into, let me just show you where I did it. Back over here. I went into manage and project parameters. No. And I went and said add, and I pulled it as a shared parameter. I added that shared parameter. It is a type always, because item CFA is for type, item numbers, for instance. And so I could go and select the parameter. Okay, whatever. And select it. And that gave it, it was common in length and stuff. And then I could decide where to put it on. So I went and put it on the types of families that we have: generic, model, specialty equipment, lighting fixtures, plumbing, electrical. I just put it on all of them. And when I got done, I'm gonna cancel this, because every family that we had put in there had to be touched. It took a couple of minutes to run through, and it went in and said, all of you item CFAs go under, back over to under identity data. And if you don't have one, well, you've got one now, because I'm a project parameter. So once it got finished with that, I went and removed it from the project parameter, because it doesn't need to be on everything, but I went ahead and removed it. And then everybody was happy. So that applied it to all the families in that category, and that put that rascal back where he's supposed to be, because I really don't like it when the rascals go where they're not supposed to be. I'm a control freak. So the new project parameter can then be moved. So we are, yeah, that one I was like, that happened like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? How do you do that? So I'm like, I got the perfect place for that. So now we're down to Q&A. And do we have anything going on in there? Any questions? Nobody else had a rascal like that, just me? Oh,
yeah,
somebody
did.
did.
Catherine's on a quest for finding the industry standard for HVAC part. I mean, this could be a long journey, and it may end up becoming an endless journey. I don't know, but
Well,
I asked her to post it in the discussion for the event page, and maybe somebody will know.
I can see if I can find that one that had BIM, MEP, AUS is what it was. But I do have the National BIM Library. They have some shared parameters. That'd be a thing to look at to start with.
We got Michael. Michael says he's had one worse than that one parameter. Michael, do you want to share?
Yes, bring Michael up here.
All right, let me find Michael. You got a lot of people here today. Let's see.
Michael, raise your hand or something so we can find you. Can that help?
Please.
Yeah, Michael, raise your hand.
There we go. All right. You're unmuted, Michael.
I was raising my hand in person. I couldn't find the raise hand wasn't coming up in the thing. So when I took over as a BIM manager at our firm, I hadn't really looked at the shared parameter file, and every now and then a user would be like, "Hey, this isn't working," and I'd dig into it. I'm like, "Well, it's mapped to the right thing," and I discovered that we had a lot of different shared parameter files across the office. And like I went to look at our main shared parameter file, and there were 7 items in it. So I went through and scraped a bunch of projects around the office, put them all together, and discovered I had over 2,500 shared parameters, which included multiple, like I think the worst was 6 parameters with the same GUID that were different. So at some point, someone had copied a shared parameter file, manually edited it, and changed either like some of them had the same visible name with a different data type. So one might be an integer, one might be a yes, no. Some of them had different GUIDs with the same name and same data type. There was every possible mistake you could imagine. And I had to go through all of those and figure out what was supposed to be there. It was an absolute hoot, but it gave me a lot of really funky behavior to like figure out what you can do. And you can actually manually edit your shared parameters. You just have to really know what you're doing, and that should be a triage, like a repair. That should never be something you should jump into.
Yeah.
Like it was weeks of time untangling that. Scott just mentioned CTC tools in there. Even CTC tools was just like, nope, I'm not touching this. Like I called up friends over there. I'm like, hey, what do we do with this? And they're like, you got to rebuild it, like start from scratch. I'm like, I can't start from scratch. I've got hundreds of active projects that can't work. So you can fix it, but most users should never touch the shared parameter file.
Hey, Michael, are you paid by the hour? Because that might be beneficial that way.
God. It was
just email your boss and say, today I'm going to be a contractor and here's my rate.
Yeah, no, it's like I've told several friends about this, and they're like, what, you did what? You know, it's like, you should not, like, don't do that. Like, if you need to edit your shared parameters, either do it in the native tool or get a shared parameter manager plugin, and God help you if you have users who are editing the shared parameters themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael reached out to me when he saw the title of this upcoming, and Michael and I have done presentations together and stuff, and we've known each other for years through conferences, AU, Midwest University and stuff. But he reached out to me and I says, get ready because you're coming on stage. Because like, you did what? And what he said, he says, I got to give him for it. And I said, and we laughed about that. And he was, I don't know if he was in tears or laughing or what, but it was unbelievable when he told me about it. I said, you got to come on, tell about that, because that's the worst I've seen.
So the fallout of that is our shared parameter file has, I think it's 700 and some items in it now, which is absurdly excessive, but it means that I can use known good parameters to fix broken content in our projects. I would love to get rid of a bunch of those things, but you know, literally I just went through it in Excel and did a whole lot of data sorting and sifting, and it was, you know, line by line, figure out what it is. So like looking at the shared parameters in Excel is super handy to see them, but be really, really careful editing them.
Yeah. As y'all saw, I just pulled mine up. It's 254, and I thought we had a lot. 700.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Like,
yeah, I like to keep it right there. And they're not in the order that they were created in, because I can see some they're so yeah, I wouldn't want to go in here and edit that. That column right there scares me. The GUID column. Yeah, but I understand what's going on here, but I'm like, no, we're not saving that.
And theoretically, your GUIDs should never match anybody else's. But I have actually I have gotten parameters in that show up with another one. So I'm assuming that means somebody else did a manual edit there, or that something's been copied around and somewhere, you know, content moved from firm to firm and somebody edited something somewhere along the way.
Yeah. That's why I like that the company that I'm with started with the one from that was started for the food service industry. So that I know when I have to get families from various locations that do food service, they'll come in with the same electrical and cold water and things like that. So we don't have to redo things. But I think one of my second community conversation, I shared the parameters that we have to add all the time, the TM utilities, the 120 dual volt checkbox, the dual volts. I add all those with Dynamo. And if you go back to community conversations, the second one, I think it was parameters, and I shared how I did the Dynamo, where I found the Dynamo. I didn't write the Dynamo. I copied the Dynamo and then manipulated it for ours, for our parameters and such. But that's the easiest thing to do, because we've got new people just onboarded and they're like, how do I know what parameters go in there? I said, here's the list. Here's the Excel files that have them. Here's how you run the Dynamo. Just And that way we can go through quickly and add parameters that are custom ones to any family that comes in. Then they're ready for adoption. You know, we wipe its butt, put lipstick on the pig, put it in the library. And that's how we get a lot of our stuff in there, because I can't build everything. And we have thousands of things in our library, but this is going to come from somewhere else. Did we have any other questions out there?
No, I mean, Kimberly shared her, one of my first firms used to copy the shared parameters file per project.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I've seen that happen before. Why? Right now we have a situation where our server is not accessible. We're about to get rid of the server. We're going strictly into using BIM 360. You can't put a shared parameter out there. So I keep a copy of it on BIM 360. Anybody can download it and just put it where they need it. But that's why I know that some of our team doesn't have it, because they haven't downloaded it. And if they're not building families, they don't need to be messing with it. If they're not messing with the schedules and stuff, they don't need to be messing with it. They need, just, you're fine. Just move along.
Can you just delete excel.exe?
Oh no, you can. They added share parameter through Revit.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Which is the only place really to do it, right? But no, yeah.
I
And
was just taking a brute force attack there, just to block any kind of editing capabilities.
well, of course,
That's my old CAD manager method. Just deprecate commands and executables on the machines.
Yeah, well, I do have a copy of it put back, and I have it right protected. So if someone were to find it, they're not gonna be able to do anything with it. But no, you can't do things like we did in AutoCAD, where I went in and undefined the explode command on Windows computer.
Hey, Donnia, we do have Catherine with a question.
Okay.
When there are several firms working on a project, like one firm is doing architecture and another is doing the mechanical design, how do they coordinate their shared parameters?
That is an excellent question. Frankly, we keep ours and they keep theirs. Is the way we've done it, because we don't have to interact with them. But if you're going to have to interact with them, you can swap shared parameter files to get something done and then swap back to your other one. So you can send them a copy, because you can change your shared parameter file while you're in the middle of a project to something else. If you need to do something like edit a schedule and have the same information come up, then you can go back to the other shared parameter. So that's what I would suggest that they do.
I've got a trick there, and Sean has foolishly left me unmuted. We use shared parameters for some sheet scheduling and some other advanced schedule features there. I just tell a user from the mechanical, I'm architecture side, tell them user from the mechanical side, copy the schedule. We've got a working schedule that's built just for this. Copy that schedule out of our project, paste it into your project. Boom, they've got all of our shared parameters. That schedule also gives them any data that we need them to set or we want them to set. They can configure that way. And there's a couple of those working schedules that can get copied around. I've got a couple of families that are meta families that like plop that in, and you get a whole lot of data dumped in to help fix and clean up stuff.
Thank you, Michael. And I'm going to mute you right now.
Good choice.
I'm kidding, but we do need to start wrapping up, Donnia.
Okay. Yeah, and I will post the National BIM Library, their shared parameter link in the chat for this right after this. Okay.
And just one more here, Donnia. I just don't. I can't just. There's one more question, so we got to.
Okay.
Are there any other courses that you would recommend for basic hands-on for those that need more training on this? I'm new as a BIM manager for a very small, relatively new company. I thought I was doing shared parameter file right, but when I opened it in Excel just now, I don't see any parameters in there. It seems like they're looking for, places. Kimberly, Donnia, anybody has any references, or good pointers to go? Besides, I mean, YouTube's a great place. Autodesk has a lot of resources in their training content.
Follow Paul Albin.
Yeah, I was going to suggest Paul also. Yeah.
Paul Albin, AUBIN. He is probably hands down one of the best when it comes to BIM management. I think he's got some things on, where does he go? LinkedIn?
He is, yeah.
Vulcan Architect is another one.
Yes,
BIM Balkan Architect.
yes. BIM Aussie Guru.
Stuff out there.
Search for BIM Aussie Guru. He's got a lot of things on YouTube. I reference him. He's the one that I got my dynamo from. So if you go back to the second one I did on, I think it was reference planes and parameters, bones and ligaments on Revit families.
Michael
find
pointed
the
out
link
AU classes. Yeah, go to the AU
Yeah.
online site and just search. You'll find a ton.
Yeah.
No, there's a ton of resources. Look at this. All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, any resources you find, go ahead and put into the chat of this as soon as we get this over. So that'd be great to have all this put together in one place. Thanks, guys. Anything else?
Nope.
Looking forward to schedules. And then are you driven by chains? So if you are into chains and repeat customers, you have a store that you do all their stuff for, that's a good one coming up in 2 months. But next month is schedules, and we're going to break down how to do a lot of things in schedules. I'll show you how to put colors in them.
I'll give everybody the link to community conversations. Also email, message that to everybody. Go out there, do your RSVP now, so it's on your calendars. See Donnia next. There's a lot of good stuff going out there. We're constantly adding to the community conversation calendar. Donnia, if you could go to the next slide, please, and I will paste. I'll start getting you some links. And we do have a quick survey as well. For those that would be interested in maybe leading a community conversation, maybe you have a lot of knowledge in what you do, we do take proposals. Also, here's the survey link. So, we welcome your feedback to help shape the future community conversations, how we can better that and improve. And there's going to be a lot of changes moving forward. There'll be a lot more content, more people participating. It's going to be great. More Donnia. That's always a good thing.
And
Next
don't
slide.
forget the voices. Don't forget the
Yeah, well,
voices.
I'm going to hit that again.
Oh,
Oh, yes. Let me get my magical link here. So here's a whole slew, and I already gave you the link to be lead a community conversation. The next slide, please. And anybody can email me, sean@autodesk.com. We've got a lot of community resources. As Donnia mentioned, and I pointed out, Donnia is an author on the Voices, which is customer community for the community. It's a whole bunch of people, different products. We're going to be expanding that further, multiple languages, multiple products. We have the student group hub. We have, you name it, the forums, of course. It was mentioned AU, but get involved, connect with us. We hope to see you here again, the next Donnia session or any other sessions that grab your fancy. We've got in AEC, we got the Dynamo session. We just started a whole bunch of Fusion 360 for people in that industry. So thank you, Donnia. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, everybody who joined us today. It's been a lot of fun, and I think there was some great resources handed out in the chat, and I'll try and post those with the recording links that I message everybody later. So thank you.
all right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye.
Donnia. Love hearing the clock every 15 minutes.
At least the dog's out.